Hi, good morning to Madam Nur Aisyawani binti Syahrul Azan. Okay, today I and my partner, Rudhra anak perempuan Sri Jaran, present about international business environment of certain countries and how this environment affects international management among MNC operating in Canada because Canada is our country that we choose. So for the first one, introduction. For the introduction, as multinational groups MNC enlarge their footprint across diverse nations, they need to recognize the diverse demanding situation and opportunities provided by each state's particular business environment. These environments aren't static, they are formed by using evolving political, monetary, and social forces that may directly impact how cooperation performs. One of the key demanding situations of MNCs is navigating political and legal structures that fluctuate considerably from the ones of the domestic. In a few countries, authority guidelines may want overseas funding, while in others, strict rules and tariffs can also prevent market access. Moreover, specific prison structures can create complicated compliance requirements from external legal guidelines to environmental regulation, requiring MNCs to adapt their internal rules and control techniques. In addition to political and felony factors, the financial environment additionally plays a provincial position. Economic situations such as inflation charges, trade wars, and GDP boom can have an effect on demand for service and products, profitability, and funding possibilities. MNC regularly have plot techniques which can address unstable currencies, fluctuating commodity expenses, and different stage of marketplace opposition in every United States. Cultural and social elements also are valuable to the worldwide commercial enterprise environment. Understanding local customs, values, and patron choice is essential for successful market penetration. For instance, differences in commercial enterprise between control styles and communicate practice can significantly have an effect on the effectiveness of past border. Technically, improvements additionally play an increasing more important position in shaping the global business panorama. Given those complex factors, international management must be agile and adaptive. MNCs have expand strategies to align with both global targets and neighborhood realities, fostering innovation even as maintaining consistency across borders. This requires managers to have now put only a strong know how their country's business practice, but additionally an eager focus on how neighborhood environment can impact control selection. The capability to conform management styles to special cultural contexts, deal with international negotiation effectiveness, and follow a myriad of rules is important for the lengthy term achievement of MNCs inside the global market. So for the second one is the country background. Ra will continue it. Thank you.
Good day, madam. So it's Rudhra Priya this side, and I'm going to be starting with the country background. So Canada, in this case, North America's largest and most varied nation, Canada is renowned for its high quality of living, diversity, society, and stable democracy, with the Atlantic, Pacific, and Arctic oceans around it, and the United States to the south. It is the second largest nation on Earth by land area. English and French are the official languages of Canada, which is the constitutional monarchy with a federal parliamentary system. In addition to having universal healthcare and publicity supported education, its economy is resource rich and driven by trade, especially with the United States. Indigenous civilizations, colonization by the French and British, and eventual full independence through the Constitution Act of 1982 are all part of Canada's lengthy history. It is now known for its peacekeeping mission, environmental projects, and dedications to human rights, and it is actively participates in international affairs through its membership in institutions such as the UN, NATO, G7, and the Commonwealth. So next we're going to be looking into the overall cultural aspects in Canada and how they affect the workplace. So there are a few aspects that go into that, but before that, Canada's multiculturalism respects for variety, civility, equality, and also strong emphasis on individual rights all influence its culture as a whole. These cultural norms have a big impact on workplace in the number of ways. So the first aspect is multiculturalism of and diversity. So given that immigrants make up a sizable fraction of the population, Canada is a very cosmopolitan country. This creates a welcoming atmosphere at work where different viewpoints are respected. Respect for diverse origins, cultures, faiths, and languages is demanded of both employers and employees. So the next one is politeness and communication. So Canadians are renowned for their indirect communication style and politeness. This translates into polite conversation, cautious wording, and a general avoidance of conflicts in the workplace. Professional conversations are typically calculated and polite, with feedback is required delivered professionally. So as you can see, they are very mindful in terms of their behavior and things like that. So the next one, C, is equality and non-hierarchy. So compared to some other countries, Canadian companies place a greater emphasis on equality and are typically less hierarchical. So employees of all ranks are encouraged to voice their opinions uh, and management, and workers are frequently uh, can frequently communicate openly while respecting authority. So D is work-life balance and labor rights. A good work-life balance is valued in Canadian society. Personal time is respected and equitable working hours, paid leave, and parental benefits are supported by labor regulations. Flexible work schedules and mental health care are becoming more and more required of employees and employers as well. So the next one we have E, last but not least, is inclusivity and anti-discrimination. So employers are legally obligated to provide inclusive workplaces that do not discriminate on the basis of sexual orientation, gender, color, religion, or disability. Both the public and private sectors frequently implement equity programs and diversity training. So in conclusion to this, the values of equity, respect, inclusivity, and open communication have created Canadian workplace culture, fostering work settings that value individual dignity and variety. So last but not least, coming from me, there's also the opportunity and challenges of investing in Canada. So let's go over the opportunities first. So the first one, we have stable political and economic environment. Canada is a secure and predictable place to invest because it's robust, stable democracy and reliable financial institutions. B, we have abundant natural resources. So the resources like mineral, wood, oil, and gas are just a few of the many natural resources found in Canada. Because of this, it is appealing to investors in the mining, energy, and associated sectors. C, skilled and educated workforces. So Canada boasts a very varied and high educated workforce that fosters innovation and productivity in industries like finance, healthcare, and technology. So D, open trade agreements. So throughout the trade agreements like the USMCA between the United States and Mexico, or the CETA with the European Union, and CPTPP in terms of the Asia Pacific, Canada has access to important international markets, giving investors a worldwide reach. And E, support for innovation. So the government grants and incentives are incentives encourage R&D innovations and technology startups, especially in the fields of biotech, AI, and clean tech. So they are actually like very futuristic if you think about it. Okay. So F, we have strong legal system and IP protection. So businesses and investors can feel secure knowing that property and intellectual rights are protected by Canada's open legal system. So next, moving on to the challenges. So the challenges of investing with Canada is that high tax and business costs. So profit margins may be impacted by higher corporate and personal tax rates as well as operating expenses, particularly in urban areas as compared to other nations. B, regulatory complexity. So companies may have to deal with intricate rules that differ between provinces and industries, which can raise compliance expenses and cause project delays. And C, we have geographic size and climate. The large size of Canada and the severe winters in many areas can make logistics difficult and raise the cost of infrastructure and transportation. D, labor shortages in some sectors. So even with a robust workforce, certain industries struggle with aging populations or a lack of skilled workers, which could restrict growth or raise labor costs. And E, last but not least, negotiation with indigenous groups is frequently necessary for investment projects, particularly those involving in natural resources. This process can be delicate and time-consuming, but it is necessary for ethical and legal compliances. So in conclusion to this, even if Canada provides investors with a secure, resource-rich and innovative environment, obstacles like exorbitant expenses, intricate regulations, and geographical limitations necessitate meticulously preparation and local knowledge. So there are its pros and cons to actually um, doing trades with Canada that may actually need some thought in terms of this. So yeah, that is all from me. Thank you so much, madam. Once again, I'm Rudhra Priya, and I will be passing the floor to Danish again.
Okay, next, political risk in Canada and how it affected companies. So for my part, I needed to explain the real case of the company. So first of all, Canada, regarded for its political stability and robust legal frameworks, is broadly seen as an attractive destination for multinational corporations such as MNC seeking to enlarge their operation. However, like all countries, Canada provides certain political dangers that may impact commercial enterprise sports. This risk rise from changes in authorities' regulation, shift in political leadership, and the local variation regulatory environment. While Canada political machine is extraordinarily stable, multinational organization MNC nonetheless face challenges including transfer threat, position danger, operation hazard, and cultural misadjustment. This explores those risks and illustrate their capability effect on organization operating in Canada. The use of real global instance to focus on important of these political factors. So for the first one, transfer risk. Transfer danger refers back to inability of groups to transport capital, profits, or other economic property across borders due to the government-imposed restriction and or guidelines. While Canada is normally identified for its open financial markets, certain sectors, which include telecommunication and national assets, are concerned to government oversight that may impact the free flow of capital. A top instance of switch risk in Canada happened at some stage in the debates surrounding overseas ownership of Canadian resources. For instance, foreign traders in the power region, specifically in oil and gas, have confronted and limitation primarily based on country-wide safety concerns the safety of strategic assets. While Canada is typically favorable in the direction of foreign investment, those guidelines and restrictions may want to disrupt the capacity of businesses to replicate earnings of switch finance freely. Even though Canada has a fairly low degree of transfer threat as compared to different countries, it's still crucial for organizations to remain aware about evolving guidelines that, that could impose restriction on go border monetary transaction. So for the second one, ownership risk. Ownership risk involves the ability of employer to lose control over its assets due to political intervention which include expropriation or adjustment in legal possession frameworks. While Canada is thought for its dedication of the rule of thumb of regulation and the protection of belongings rights, there were times where political choices have created position risk for foreign corporation. An amazing example of ownership changes in Canada get from chemical Corporation, a chief participant inside the uranium mining enterprise. The Canadian authorized as predictably deliver policies that regulate the extended foreign position in the USA. Resources extraction industries, particularly in strategic sectors like uranium mining. In the early 20,000, in the early 2000s, chemical confronted challenges while overseas companies sought the together Canadian uranium assets. Although Cameco turned into not without delay expropriate, these regulatory changes create uncertainty for foreign traders in Canada aids. So, for the operation risk, next one, the operation risk. Operation assets refers back to challenges that business face when their everyday operations are suffering from political factors, such as regulatory adjustment, accession legal guidelines, or political instability. Besides Canada pretty stable political environment, political decision can drastically impact the operation of business. One excessive profile example of operation danger in Canada become to the talk surrounding TC Energy Keystone XL pipeline assignment. Initially approved by means of the Canadian authorities, the task became mean to transport oil from Alberta to the US Gulf Coast. In Canada, some provincial governments, especially British Columbia, expressed opposition to the venture due to environmental concerns, which not on the time regulatory approval. The Keystone XL case demonstrates how political decisions, each domestic and global, can delay or cancel most important infrastructure tasks, forcing groups to reconsider their operation techniques. TC Energy needed to navigate converting rules, delays, and shifting political priorities, all of which related expenses and create operation uncertainties. So for the last one, cultural misadjustment. Cultural misadjustment happens while groups fail to completely understand. I sorry for the delay. Okay, I will continue with cultural misadjustment. Cultural misadjustment happens while group fails to completely understand, adapt to the nearby lifestyle, which could causes issues in management, workers, family members, or purchases interaction. An example of cultural misadjustment in Canada became the Target Corporation access into the Canadian market. In 2013, Target improved into Canada with notable expenses, but its Canadian projects quick encounter problems. The corporation did not adapt Canadian client attentive and underestimate the significance of delivery chain management. Furthermore, Target's branding and advertising strategies have been now not nicely aligned with Canadian consumers, or also can say by customers, resulting terrible consumer engagement. Target's failures to cope with their nearby cultural expenses caused its exit from the Canadian marketplace in 2015, incurring huge monetary loss. So for the conclusion, so for the conclusion, for the political risk, political dangers such as a transfer danger, ownership changes, operational asset, and cultural misadjustment are crucial elements for multinational corporation MNCs to bear in mind while doing commercial enterprise in Canada. Despite Canada's strong political and regulatory surroundings, those dangers can drastically affect commercial enterprise operation, especially in industries such as transport, urban resource, and retail. Companies ought to be aware of ability regulatory changes, government rules, and cultural differences that would disrupt their operation or have an effect on their profitability. Lastly, for the conclusion, how would you advise other foreign companies willing to do business in Canada? So first of all, Canada gives a wealth of possibility for foreign agencies trying to extend their international footprint. With its strong economic system, robust felony device, nicely knowledgeable staff, and get entry to world markets through alternate agreements inclusive of Canada, United States, Mexico agreement. So can say by CUSMA. Canada stays an appealing location spot for global commercial enterprise. However, to be successful within the Canadian market, overseas companies need to navigate its particular political, financial, regulatory, and cultural panorama. First and most important, foreign agencies should conduct comprehensive research and political risk assessment earlier than getting into the Canadian market. While Canada is politically strong, enterprise particular rules mainly in sectors like natural resources, telecommunication, and finance may be complex and challenges to regulatory oversight. Companies must observe each federal and provincial guidelines as regulatory government in Canada frequently keep sizable authority over key sectors. Secondly, it's more vital for overseas traders to increase a studied understanding of Canada's cultural diversity and purchases conduct. Canada is a multicultural society with various populations across its province and territories. Business have keep away from assuming the customer possibility, work way of life, or advertising and marketing techniques from their domestic United States while mechanically translate to fulfill in Canada. Thirdly, foreign firms out to interact in obvious and proactive stakeholder global exchange, in particular whilst operating in touchy sectors consisting of electricity, natural sources, or infrastructure. Many Canadian projects, many Canadian projects have been not on time or cancelled because of environment worries. Companies out to include a corporation social obligation (CSR) task and reveal a true dedication to sustainable and moral practice. Finally, overseas groups should establish a flexible adaptive management approach. Political choices, regulatory adjustment, and transferring economic priorities can create uncertainty even in stable economies like Canada. Building flexibility into commercial enterprise models together with having capacity plans, different operation, or alternative delivery resource can help corporation reply correctly to unforeseen political or monetary tendencies. In conclusion, even as Canada gives a favorable surrounding for international enterprise, fulfillment relies upon a corporation ability to and adapt to its precise political, colony, and cultural context. Foreign corporations need to invest in studies, have interaction with local communities, customize their tax needs, and stay agile in their operation. By doing so, they cannot be handily mitigate political risk, but also build sustainable and profitable organization inside one of the global most open dynamic economies. That's all from me, Danish and Rudhra. Thank you so much, Madam Pani.